Welcome to the new game called Parallel, Perpendicular, or Neither. What you're going to start learning in Unit 2 is all about angles and parallel lines and how it all works together. So we're going to introduce a really basic concept here. You're going to determine in those 4 examples below in the notes if the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Now, back in Unit 6 in algebra, and a little bit in Unit 5, you learned about parallel and perpendicular lines. You learned how to recognize them from a linear equation. Parallel lines have the same slope, which means they will never intersect. And perpendicular lines have a negative reciprocal slope, and they intersect at right angles. See that? All right, let's look at the example. You're going to identify them. Look at the first one. Are the lines parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Well, they appear to be parallel. They're going the same direction, and they are not intersecting. Example 2, you can see those clearly intersected or right angles. They're perpendicular. Example 3, well, they don't fit either of the cases, do they? They're not parallel or perpendicular, so neither. Now look at number 4. Those haven't intersected yet, but they're going to. So what you can do is continue the dotted line to see how they would intersect. And you can see that they are neither parallel nor perpendicular. Okay, hope your brains aren't melted too much. Moving on. All right, on this second page of notes, you're going to identify corresponding and alternate angles. But actually, we're going to cover all of them, all right? So what I want you to do, and you're going to see a color graphic organizer, is follow along with me. And I actually am using a key because there's only one way this works. So let's talk corresponding angles. Corresponding angles, those are going to be in red. Corresponding angles are in the same place, different lines. Think about the classroom. The desks are all arranged in rows. So where the person sits against the bulletin board on the left side of the room as you walk in, you've got that first chair, and then you've got the next one. Those are corresponding. So let's do corresponding. Okay. The red ones are corresponding. See how they are in same places on both parallel lines? So those are corresponding. They are the same measure. They have the same measure. They are congruent. They have the same measure. All right, let's go to alternate exterior angles. Those are going to be yellow. They're also congruent. Alternate means either side of the transversal. Now the transversal is that. It's the line that goes through the parallel lines. So let's find my alternate exterior angles. It's going to be this one. And then the exact opposite is this one. Okay? Those two angles are congruent. See how they are on different sides of the transversal. Now, vertical angles. Oh, you should remember vertical angles. Now, I'm supposed to have orange. I don't have orange. So I'm going to do vertical angles as, I'm going to do lines, okay? Lines for vertical angles. You remember those from the last unit. So there are lots of vertical angles on here, but for this particular picture, these are going to be the vertical angles. okay, and this one. Okay, those are the vertical angles. You remember those are congruent. Now, same side interior angles are interesting. Think about what the words are. Same side means they are on the same side of the transversal. They are not necessarily congruent, but they do add up to 180. We can also say they are, oops, here we go. They are supplementary because they add up to 180. So those two are supplementary. All right, let's go to alternate interior angles. Well, if alternate exterior angles were on either side of the transversal, I'll fix that, and outside, see how the yellow ones are outside the parallel lines? Well, then alternate interior will be either side and inside the parallel lines. So those would be these two. They are between the parallel lines, but they're still on opposite or alternate sides of the transversal. That's blue. All right. The last one I will do is black. Those are going to be same side exterior angles. Just like the green ones, which are same side interior, these are same side and they are outside of the parallel lines. Same side of the transversal, they also are supplementary. Now, what this chart helps you realize is you can know the measure of one angle out of 8 of them, and you can figure out the measure of every other angle as long as you understand the properties of parallel lines cut by a transversal. Okay, so let's look at let's get a cool color, example 2. Finding angle measures. We're going to put into practice what I just taught you. Angle 6 is 136 degrees. Find the measures of angle 1 and 3. Well, you know what? I want you to find every single one of them. You don't have to, you can use all the properties up there, but you can also use some simple properties. Vertical angles is my favorite one. Okay, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to mark them all up. Well, if 6 is 136 degrees, what's the measure of angle 8? It's a vertical angle. It's also going to be 136 degrees. Now, there's angle 8, okay? Angle 8 is the alternate interior angle to angle 2. See how they're inside? I'm going to put little congruency markers here. No, I won't. They're inside, so 8 and 2 are congruent. Oh, so angle 2 is 136 degrees, isn't it? Now, going back to what you learned last unit, what can you tell me about angle 1 and angle 2? They are a linear pair. They add up to 180. So therefore, the measure of angle 1, I'll put it over here. Angle 1 is 180 minus 136. The measure of angle 1 equals 44 degrees. So therefore, what's the measure of angle 3? Vertical angle, 44 degrees. Now, how can I check this? I'll show you. We're going to use one of the properties above in the chart. Angle 3 and angle 8 are same side interior. Angle 3, whoops. Try it again. Angle 3 and angle 8 are same side interior angles. They should add up to 180. So let's see. 44 plus 136 equals 180. So the measure of angle 1, I'll put it in black. Measure of angle 1 is 44 degrees. Measure of angle 3 is also 44 degrees. So we applied what we knew about vertical angles and linear pairs, which you learned last unit, and then you applied what you just learned in the chart above about corresponding angles and our alternate exterior and interior angles. And that's not the only way to solve this. There are different ways. I could have gone 136 and I knew angle 2 is corresponding and was 136. You can do it all kinds of different ways. But as long as you remember, linear pair is 180 and what the properties are of congruent angles. All right, moving on to the next page. Now we're going to solve an equation. Don't you turn this recording off. You did this before. You've got to find the values of x and y. So you have to apply what you know. Now, when I look at this, I see that 71 degrees and angle x are same side interior. So they add up to 180. 180 minus 71 equals x. X equals 109 degrees. That's nice. Good, I've got x. But I also have to find y. Well, remember, x and 3y plus 13 are congruent because they are vertical angles. So x equals 3y plus 13. I know my x is 109. 109 equals 3y plus 13. Subtract 13 from both sides. 96 equals 3y. Divide both sides by 3. 32 equals y. So on this example, you applied everything you know about angles. Now, you can print that chart. In fact, I'll go ahead and I'll put one in Google Classroom. So you can print it. It will also be up in the classroom. You can use it. But I want you to learn this, to internalize this, to understand how to apply what you know about same side interiors, verticals, corresponding, and alternates. All right, let's go to the next page. Now on this page, you're doing the same thing, but you have to come up with the proper terms for the angles. This example helps you solidify in your brain what the things are. All right, so as I always say, mark it. Measure of angle 1 is 55 degrees. So I'm going to mark it. Let's go to the questions. And this is how it will look in ALEKS and on the test. We see that angle 1 and angle 2 are what? What kind of angles are they? Corresponding, vertical, alternate interior, or alternate exterior? Well, this one you should know without a problem. They are vertical angles. B. And vertical angles are congruent. So the measure of angle 2 is 55 degrees. I'm going to put it on my little diagram. I just figured that out. Now, we see that angle 2 and 3 are what? Well, we know they're not vertical angles. Are they corresponding? Remember, corresponding angles are in the same place on different lines on the same side. 2 and 3 are in the same place on different lines on the same side. They are, change my color on this, they are corresponding. They are not alternate because they are not on both sides of the transversal. They're on the same side of the transversal because remember, this is the transversal, the line that cuts through the parallel lines. You may want to write this down. You need to remember this. I'm going to use this word a lot. So if the corresponding angles are congruent, we got that from the first page. So the measure of angle 3 is 55 degrees. Now we're going to put it all together. Well, look at your chart. Look at the picture. And this is what you would have drawn. Angle 1 and 3 are, well, you can see they're congruent. They have the same measure. We also see that they are they corresponding or are they on the same side? They are not. Vertical angles, do they share a vertex? They do not. Alternate interior angles, are they on both sides of the transversal? They are. Are they inside the parallel lines or outside the parallel lines? They're inside. So they are alternate interior angles. Now you're going to figure out the relationship, and you have to read this carefully. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. Well, when we're talking about the relationship between angle 1 and 3, well, they are not exterior angles, so that does not apply. B, alternate exterior angles are supplementary. 1 and 3 are not alternate exterior angles. It does not apply. C, alternate interior angles are congruent. That's what they are, and they are congruent, so that's the example. On this particular problem, the only place you will really get tripped up is probably the bottom question, finding the relationship. Please go slowly and carefully and read them, because you never know where the right answer is going to be. And that wraps up day 1.